Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Between the Lines talk show, radio show that is disguised as a podcast. With me, I have my good guest star and co-host, Jake. Say hello, Jake.
How's it going, guys?
And then I also have Bruce. How you doing, Bruce?
Good.
All right, cool. Bruce is the other co-host of the Universal Monsters podcast we just got done filming that, so a little behind the scenes for you guys. So how you gentlemen doing today? How's your day going? Let's start off with that.
We are living life. You were a part of our day for the past few hours or so you know we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, my day's going fine.
Well, as always, we start off. I like to start off with what video games we've been playing. For me, haven't been doing much. Just been playing some Pokemon recently. Started playing Hades. It's kind of like a dungeon crawler game. It's pretty fun. The gameplay's pretty good. Other than that, haven't been up to much besides that. Although I do have this Pro controller that I modded that I should get back to. I gave it analog clicky buttons, and I need to finish giving it those clicky buttons. Yeah, soldering is a fun skill to learn.
I got friends that solder. They fuck with DSs a lot.
I have a few DSs I still need to fuck with. It's always funny because when I solder, I'm like, okay, I'll wear gloves. But then every time I pull out the solder, I'm like, I can just do it really quick. And then I always burn myself. I'm like, damn it, if I just wore gloves. One day I'll learn. One day. I know. What are you, Jake? Any hobbies or fun stuff you've been up to at the moment?
Yeah. Well, in terms of video games, I opened up Gauntlet 2014. I love the classic arcade Gauntlet from like the 80s. I played that on Midway Arcade Treasures on PS2. Got big into that game. And they made a 2014 remake, which I kind of fell down a rabbit hole with when that came out. And then I kind of just forgot about it. And like the other day I was like, you know what? I really want to kill some time. And I fired that up and like not missing a beat, man. I rock Wizard. Wizard's like the hardest one to learn, but it's all baked in. So it's like so fun once you know all the tricks. And yeah, it was good.
I've never even heard of Gauntlet. What's the gameplay like?
What, like Gauntlet, like classically, like ever?
Just all of it.
Yeah, it's from like the arcade era of like the 80s. It was literally like first an arcade game before anything else, and then they make sequels and stuff. And you play as either elf, warrior, wizard, or Valkyrie.
Okay.
And it's a dungeon crawl. It's like created the dungeon crawl genre kind of thing. It didn't really, but it kind of did.
Oh,
and
shit.
You're crawling through. It's top down, and you have like each of the four people has a different like type of way that they fight with like different things they use, and it's just endless enemies. And each section is procedurally generated, so it can go on until it reaches a certain point. And every level is like a unique level that you've never seen before with the same elements over and over again. And you get potions, you can do magic, extra shit. 2014's version is probably my favorite version because it's like in the 80s it was all just pixels and shit and like kind of clunky. 2014's version is basically like what the game makers would have imagined it would be, like realized with like HD graphics and shit. It was made for the PS4, so like it was super cool.
Damn.
And I have it on PS5 now because it just transfers over. And it's still buggy because it wasn't a huge success of a game. A lot of people haven't heard of it, obviously, but like it's just a lot of fun. Like the HD graphics just enhance the core gameplay, which hasn't changed. So I really appreciate that.
That sounds fun. I'm gonna have to check that one out. Yeah. All right, Bruce. What about you? What have you been up to? You play video games? Sure.
Yeah, in terms of video games, I mean, I haven't been playing as much as I used to, so I'm just going to give like the last 3 I've played over the last like 4 months. I made sure to get a PlayStation 5 so I could pick up the Silent Hill 2 remake that came out in October. And that's one where it's like, the whole reason I game it all is because I played an old copy of the original Silent Hill 2 on the PS2 in like 2008. And that like hooked me. And so that's had me on gaming ever since. And I was really hoping this new one would come out and be really good because Konami has done like a terrible job of keeping like the old games in print and available to play. Like I have copies of all of them because I managed to get them back when they weren't charging ridiculous prices for PS1 and PS2 games.
Right, yeah.
But this one came out and it was really great. The developer team they brought in, they nailed it. and it's super fun remake. If you got PS5, or I think it's on PC too. If you got a good PC, check this one out.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out.
It's really good, really scary.
I'm overdue for a Silent Hill playthrough, and I've been trying to play all the games that I've never really touched. I saw that you had on your channel, you had like a whole Let's Player stream of the Silent Hill 2 remake. I can't believe I forgot about that.
I didn't do a stream. I recorded it and then uploaded it like old
Right,
school
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
Play
So you
style.
did old school Let's Play style, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to. I haven't done streams in a long time, but since then, I got Resident Evil Village for Christmas, which is one I've been putting off for like 4 years, and that one was a lot of fun. It got a little. It kind of fell off a little bit towards the end. There was some really dumb storytelling where it's like this whole game wouldn't have happened if they would have just talked to each other for 5 minutes at the beginning. But it was a really fun experience. There's like it's divided into like 4 sections. The first two are great. The other two are good, but not as good. And it was just a fun, somewhat different version of Resident Evil. And I was on such a Resident Evil kick, I pulled out my PS4 copy of the Origins collection, which is polished HD ports of Resident Evil 0 and the Resident Evil remake from the GameCube from like 20 years ago. And I played the remake again, just popped into the PS5 because backwards compatibility is thankfully a thing again. And that's a game when I first played, because I first played it on the Wii port back in 2009. And I'm like, oh, what am I doing? This game is so hard. And now it's like a breeze because I know where everything is. It's like, run to this room, run to that room.
Yeah, I think it was in October something Humble Bundle did for Steam, like a whole ass Resident Evil bundle collection. I bought that. But before that, I have like all the Resident Evils that they have available on Switch. And I was playing the remake, but I kind of got stuck. But I think what I want to do is that when I get back to playing it, I'm gonna like follow like one of those like walkthrough guides, because I just don't have time to figure it out.
Yes.
But I want to play all the Resident Evils.
One really stupid thing that gets people stuck in that game is that you have to check certain items. You have to examine certain items in the inventory and like spin them around to figure out what they do.
Right.
So there's like a dog collar you pick up. And if you don't examine the dog collar, you have no idea what to do with it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I've seen Let's Plays of all the Resident Evil games, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
But no, that whole feature of you have to look at the items is only in 2 of the games, so it's super easy to forget about.
Yeah, I think I'll play them all on Steam, but the only one that I know that I want to play specifically on a console is the Wii version of Resident Evil 4, because that gives you motion controls for aiming, and I suck at aiming with twin sticks.
and the aiming and the aiming is actually I've seen footage of that one, and the aiming is actually not bad. Because compared to the PS2 version, which I have, you have like in the PS2 version, you have like a laser pointer.
Oh, wow, okay.
And aiming that thing is super ridiculous. But I've looked at, you have like a reticle on the Wii version, and I'm like, wow, that's so much easier. The only 2 main games in that series I haven't played are 6, which I've heard is terrible, and the remake of 4, which I just haven't gotten around to yet.
I hear the 4 remake is pretty good too, but it's not as campy as the original.
Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. All 3 Indiana Jones adventures in one action-packed game.
So, all right. Well, moving on to movies we've all recently watched. Jake, do you want to go first on what movies you've been checking out at the cinema?
I am sticking strong with my commitment to watch a movie a week. I have not yet this week because, well, today would have been the day, and we've had quite an eventful day. So it'll probably be tomorrow. But I will say that I watched Captain America Brave New World. I am in the minority. I really liked it. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I expected to, be lukewarm on it because the reviews were not so hot, but really enjoyed it. Thought it was really strong. Red Hulk steals the movie when he shows up. It's not much of the movie, but it's the best part of any movie ever made. So, big into that. And
that ties into our main song.
Yeah,
Sure
I know,
does.
right? Speaking of Harrison Ford, yeah.
Exactly. Mr. Harrelson Ford. But the other movie I watched recently is the Oscar-nominated I'm Still Here. I watched that in theaters, and the reason why I mention that is because my wife is Brazilian. and that is her native language. So we went to the movie in theaters, and it's the first time we watched it in her language with English subtitles. That it's always backwards when we watch something at home because I add the Brazilian subtitles for her because it's easier for her. And it was just a nice experience of like, wow, we're going to a movie and it's flipped around. Now I'm in the passenger seat. It's kind of fun.
That's cool. That's cool. How was it? Is it worth it?
Yeah.
It's not one of the best picture nominees. I mean, I see why it's nominated. You know, it's all like, oh, this real event is so sad. Doesn't that make our movie good? It's like, yeah, it's a sad event, but like, you got to make a fucking good movie too. Like, I don't know. So it didn't really grip me the same way it gripped seemingly the rest of the world.
I gotcha. What about you, Bruce? What have you seen at the cinema recently?
So I haven't. The last thing I saw in the cinema was I'm Still Here, which I really liked. But I'm a little bit like with Jake too, where it's good, but there's things about that it could have been better. But the last couple weeks, I have just been burning through the Oscar nominees, and I finally finished the other day.
I've seen all 10. Yes.
I've seen all the categories now, except for the ones we usually see.
I don't even know which ones I've seen and haven't seen, but I don't even know if I can be bothered to. I'm so deep into production that I can't.
Yeah,
but
when you're busy like that, I will say, the one that came out and just kind of grabbed me, and I'm like, why isn't this even in Best Picture? Was Sing Sing.
Sing Sing was good.
That was
Sing
really
was
good. Yeah, and then I thought Best Animated was very strong this year. There wasn't like a total stinker in the bunch.
Did I see all the animateds? No, I missed Flow. I saw the rest of them.
Oh,
damn it.
I saw Flow a couple weeks ago. That was good.
Wallace and Gromit was really good.
My favorite of them is probably Wild Robot. That was a great, like unexpectedly great movie. Although Inside Out 2, I literally just watched recently, because we both had seen Inside Out 1 a long time ago and then not seen 2, so we watched both together on digital. And man, they're just great. They pair so well together. They feel like an extension of each other. Great duology so far.
Oh yeah. So would you agree with everything I had said when we were talking about Jake last month on the podcast?
I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I barely remember anything you said about Inside Out 2.
It's fine. I just said it was great. That's
Inside Out.
It is great. It's amazing.
I went into Inside Out 2 going, oh no, it's another Pixar sequel.
Yeah.
And it was actually
good.
good.
After this episode uploads, I will go back and listen to the other episode and listen to your comments and then message you personally and say, yeah, you're dead right.
Okay, cool. Well, the only real question is, which one was better for you, Inside Out 1 or 2?
Oh man,
I think 2 is better than 1.
Really,
I think I will say I think 1 is slightly better than 2 because I think 2 hits a few too many of the same beats.
I think they're both excellent. It's really hard to pick. I will lean just by a hair. I'll lean part 1 because the brain related puns went like insane in 2, like the sarcasm, like that they
that
did
was so
many.
funny.
I don't know. I feel like I went a little kind of overboard with that. I don't know, but anyway, I love both of those movies. Both of those movies are excellent.
Cool.
Sarcasm will destroy everything.
Okay, so as for me, actually, before I get into the new movies I've seen, did anyone catch the Parasite re-release in IMAX?
No, that sounds so fun.
No,
I didn't even know that was happening. Yeah, I was very fortunate. I happened to see it at my local Regal because my friend works there, so he can get me into movies sometimes. So I got to see it on like one of the huge IMAX screens. Oh my god, it looked beautiful. I hadn't seen that movie since it came out, and I was like, right, this is why this won Best Picture.
Yes, it's an excellent movie. The last 2 IMAX re-releases I saw were last year and 5 years ago, which was in 2019, I guess 6 years ago, for The Matrix. It was the 20th anniversary. They put it out again last year for the 25th, but last year instead I saw The Lighthouse in IMAX, which, oh my god,
sick.
Dude. Like, that movie is made.
I saw a couple new movies this year on an IMAX.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't you see Nosferatu on IMAX?
Of course.
Yeah, I did. I saw Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1 on an IMAX screen, and it was packed. I was down in the front row like
Crazy
this
that
the
was
whole time.
packed because
I
that movie
I can't
shot the bed at the box
imagine.
office.
Yes. And and most recently I saw The Brutalist on
And
IMAX,
let
which
me be
was
clear,
pretty
real
cool.
quick too. I've seen tons of movies in IMAX recently. I meant like re-releases of old movies.
Oh, okay, okay, I get you.
Yeah, I haven't seen any re-releases.
Yeah, that was the last re-release I'd seen. Dude, I cannot imagine
think I
watching
did.
a movie on IMAX at the lower row and just going, "What?" Like that
Fuck
just
that.
seems
No, I make
insane to me.
I track my ticket apps. I'm a big MCU guy. I make sure that I get the notification on the AMC app when tickets drop for something, so I can reserve the best possible seats at the IMAX, right in the dead center
Hell
for
yeah.
everything. So I just extend that logic to all the movies.
I try to do that. Sometimes I get luckier than others, but for the most part, I typically can get what I get. Luckily, is I try to go for the wheelchair assistant or like the wheelchair companion seats, and those ones usually never get picked. And those are really nice because I don't know, I just get like anxiety about crowds now, so it's nice to just be able to like see the huge crowd of people up there and then look over and your seat's right there and you just walk over. It's nice. So.
That is pretty nice,
to-
yeah.
The worst part about pre-buying your seats is that I always try and make sure there's at least one seat on either side of me, and so many times I walk in there and someone sits down on either side of me. I'm like, fuck.
I have like I'm very fortunate that I usually have a buddy to go along with a movie. So very.
I
lucky in
got
that
one
aspect.
buddy who goes to like all the stuff that I go to usually.
One trick I learned is at the AMC near here, which I only go to a couple times because it's in a strange location, and they only, depending on what day you go, they don't open up until like 4. And I go there, and the parking's a little weird. And the way those theaters are is that it's not like up like this; they're all flat on like a flat floor. So I discovered if I'm watching something with subtitles, get in the back row because it's easier to read that way. Because I remember when I went to see Zone of Interest, I was going like trying to catch
The
all the
best seats
dialogue.
in the house for IMAX, and this is depending on what kind of IMAX theater you have, but like usually there's a break in the middle of it where you can walk up with the wheelchair accessible ones.
Yeah.
The best
Yeah.
seats are the ones that are at the end of that, like with the railing in front of you, so you can put your feet up on that, because those seats usually don't recline. So just
Yeah.
having that option is like the best feeling in the world.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've been spoiled by recliner seats because the first movie I saw in one of those new recliner seats was it was Justice League, and I damn near fell asleep in that recliner seat watching that movie. That was the best part of
You
that
of course
experience.
mean the limited run IMAX release of Zack Snyder's 2021's Justice League, right?
God, no, I didn't even know that was in theaters.
No wonder. No wonder why my man fell asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, dude,
He had
those
4
recliner
hours to
seats.
snooze.
The AMC I usually frequent, the regular, they have a Dolby, they have an IMAX, and those ones both have reclining seats. But all the regular theaters have reclining seats with also back warmers, just like heaters, which is amazing. The problem is if you get really cozy in that thing, you start drifting off. So it's always funny.
No, the best. I saw a couple things in Dolby Atmos. There's a Dolby Atmos wired theater at my theater, and there's a couple things I saw in there. Like weirdly enough, the couple musicals I saw in there didn't do anything for those movies, but I saw Haunting in Venice in that, and whenever you hear the ghost children, they'd be like,
Dude, that was
behind you.
so cool. Oh, I saw it in Dolby as well. Oh,
Yeah, and then the other one I saw in Dolby was Godzilla -1, which sounded like Godzilla was just.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Oh my god, that movie was
Godzilla
so
minus
cool.
one in IMAX was cracked. That was fucking crazy experience.
I can't remember if the first time I saw it was in IMAX or in Dolby. I just remember that they happened to be doing like a Wednesday night release by chance, and it wasn't either of the two. But I got to see that, and that was phenomenal. I've seen that movie like 4 times or something like that.
I'll
Yeah, I
never
love
forget
that
the
one. Oh my
experience
God.
I had.
I
It was when the Elton John movie came out with like Taron Egerton playing him. It was Rocket Man. Yeah.
Rocket Man?
When I watch Rocket Man, and it's like this like nice kind of quiet, powerful drama, and then you just hear the muffled screams of Godzilla blowing up Tokyo and the one next door from King of the Monsters, which released like alongside of that. That'll never
gosh.
not be like the best experience. It's the best way to watch Rocket Man, by the way, with Godzilla in the background blowing everything up.
But no, the craziest thing about -1 was just getting a wide release for a Japanese
Yes,
Godzilla movie.
Dude.
Yes.
And then it
Because
got
it-
another release in black and white, which was awesome.
Which I didn't see that
I did.
one, but
I did. I saw it.
because I'm personally, this is just a personal thing. I'm getting tired of like every other movie having a black and white edition.
Well, it feels lazy.
It's
like
like-
all you did was just slide the saturation to 0 and click export.
Like I mean, I know it started with The Mist, where that was like Darabont's preferred version was in black and white. But then like they started doing like, what was it called? The black and chrome version of Mad Max Fury Road. I'm like, dude, that movie is so
I know
colorful.
the best parts of the colors. Damn.
-1 they went frame by frame and edited it to go black and
Ah.
white. So it isn't just like a saturation hue switch, which I don't know. Watching it in black and white, it was kind of interesting because certain details you focused on more. Like there was just shots where like the detail you could like kind of like focus on like on Godzilla and stuff more. Where it was like you could tell where the subject of each image was more because like it's just black and white, so you had like less visually to look at. So it was an interesting watch. I enjoyed it. I'll tell you what needs a black and white cut: Van Helsing. The entire movie just needs to be full in black and white.
I'd watch that. The black and white cut I've watched the most of all of them was the noir cut of Logan. It works. It actually really works.
I don't know if I've seen a black and white version of a movie that was color. I don't think I've seen one of those, like ever.
Really, it's interesting. It's
Yeah.
definitely interesting. As a film editor, I find stuff like that to be completely interesting because to me, you change like one little aspect, and you can change the entire movie. So I always find
Right.
I find it interesting to watch like extended.
Maybe
cuts
it's
and
because,
different
like,
versions.
Whichever experience I'm exposed to first is like the experience in my head. Maybe I'm just like I'm unable to like turn that off and like, oh, this is another way because it doesn't feel like what I actually watched. Whether that's black and white or color.
I get that. If I like a movie, I rewatch it a ton of times. I saw Godzilla -1 like 5 times now in the theaters because I
That's
saw it
It's awesome.
once in IMAX,
I
once
st-
in
I still need to see it a second time.
I saw it once in IMAX, once in Dolby, a regular theater, in the black and white cut, and then I saw it again in a regular theater when we released last year because my best friend hadn't seen it. I was like, we gotta go see it. And yeah, I have the steelbook for it.
But no, the crazy thing is Toho is actually making a direct sequel. Like they have not done a direct sequel in decades. Unless you count the anime trilogy, but that sucked. How cool is it that it won an Oscar and it was announced by Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito? They got both twins.
Yeah.
True.
Together at last.
Yeah. And it's just insane that this guy put a random Godzilla cameo in one of his movies years ago, and then eventually Toho's just like, yeah, make a Godzilla movie.
I always keep meaning to, but I always like wonder like what the Japanese audience thinks of Godzilla -1 because like in the States we all love it, but I'm like, okay, well, what does Japan think about it? I'm always kind of like curious about stuff like that.
And they love Godzilla movies.
Oh no, I know they love them, but like in terms of like, oh, where does
Yeah.
-1 rank among people? Like, because
Yeah, I would be curious too. It did well there. It won the Japanese equivalent of Best Picture, I think.
Because, like, for example, the Sonic movie, Sonic 3 did
But,
terrible in Japan, which was very interesting.
That's surprising. It feels like they're kind of like that's
Yeah.
a movie they would gravitate to.
It is really one thing that is really funny though is that last Godzilla movie in the Millennium series, Final Wars, got beaten at the box office by a random Pokemon movie. I think.
Dude, it's Pokemon. You can't beat Pokemon, man. Jake, I wanted to actually ask you about when you saw Nosferatu in IMAX, because I'd only recently had like kind of remembered that the formatting for IMAX is different. So Nosferatu in IMAX, did it fill the top and bottom with that 4:3 because it was 4:3, or did it still? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It felt real Eggers, It felt great.
In the so it was in the Justice
Should have
League
been.
ratio.
Unless I'm misremembering it. Maybe it was not the whole screen. I don't know. But like, either way, it was so immersive. I didn't even pay attention to the boundaries. Actually, it's really funny. I went with my buddy Jackson and Mud from Hot Quality Content, and at the end of the movie, Mud had been awake for like I think 26 hours by that point because he has a reverse sleep schedule. He sleeps during the day and works at night at a news station, which starts at like midnight is when he starts his job.
Damn.
So we had gone to Nosferatu at like whatever 7 p.m., which is typically when he'd like get up the previous day. So he'd been awake like all day, and by the end of Nosferatu, Jackson and I were like, wow, the movie was so good. We look over to Mud, and his eyes are like wide. And then we're like, what's up? He's like, I think I entered like a dreamlike fugue state watching Nosferatu. Like, I felt like I was in the film for like a lot of that. Like, that was a weird, trippy experience.
My man was
And
locked
it's like, well, it's
in.
kind of on you because you stayed awake for 24 hours and then watched a fucking Robert Eggers film. That you're fucked.
Sounds like an
100%
Eggers
you're
film.
fucked. There's no, you're.
True.
Imagine doing
Oh
that
my
with the
god!
Lighthouse.
For the first time, if you hadn't seen that movie,
Oh my god.
You're just going to become Robert
Yes,
Pattinson by the
that is
end.
way too intense for a sleep-deprived man to ever step near for any reason.
Never, not even once. Yeah, no, I was just
I remember when I was early into COVID lockdown, I was sick with shingles, and I could barely move. So I laid in bed. I set up my PS4, and I did a double feature of The Lighthouse and Mandy, which was a strange experience under those
okay. Not my first
That is
pick
quite
when
the
I'm that sick, but okay.
I also watched Mulholland Drive.
I think the weirdest fugue state I entered was probably when watching a movie, of course, was I couldn't sleep one night, and I don't know why, but like it was like midnight by the time I decided, okay, I can't fucking sleep. I'm just gonna get up and do something. And I put on a movie. It was on my watch list, and I watched Climax from like 2019
Oh
or whatever it
wow.
was.
Oh god. I saw that
And
movie. in
that
theaters,
movie
was boring.
fucked me up. Like I was thrown away. Like how crazy. Like that is the first time, especially if you're sleep deprived. That is a scary experience. And then like years later, I went back to it and I was like, okay, I can handle it now. I'm like well rested. I'm sane. But like at the time, that was like freaky.
I haven't seen it, but I've seen your
Yeah, it's
video
really
on
good.
it.
It's fun.
I wasn't a fan of Climax, if I'm being completely honest, but I don't know. Maybe if I gave it a rewatch
get
now
that.
as a more sophisticated filmmaker, because I watched that back when I first entered
I have
college,
a,
so. Oh, what were you saying, Bruce?
I have a interesting relationship with the other Panos Cosmatos film, Beyond the Black Rainbow, where there's something about the music in that movie that just it tunes in my brain in such a way that like most of the time I've watched it, I've started nodding off in the middle of it. It's just that vibrating sonic
Yep.
landscape where it's like, ugh, I'm like, oh crap.
I don't know if it's even fugue state, but the only times I've ever really like there's like two things. One, it wasn't or I wasn't watching a movie, but it was funny that when I was running the tennis matches, I had to do a late night drive after one of the games, and I was so tired that as I'm driving down the road, I swear I felt like 2025's Wolfman with the whole sensory thing. I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" It was fucking random.
That's awesome.
But the only fugue state thing that I can really think of is that I was inebriated one night, and I'm watching Van Helsing, and it gets to the part where the brother is like turning the werewolf, and I'm like, dude, he's gonna turn into a werewolf and like be permanent. Like he's never gonna see his family again. He's fucked. That's it. That's his life. That's so dark and fucked up. And the next day I was like,
yeah, that movie
man,
was so dark.
yeah.
I think the fact he was in Scorpion King 4 is the
Oh my god. Forgot about
The brother? The brother's in Scorpion King 4?
Will Kemp. Will Kemp is in.
Really?
Yeah, the actor is the villain of Scorpion King 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I was. But yeah, to get back on track, I was only really asking about the IMAX thing because I was like, I wonder if IMAX ratio matches pretty good with 4:3. So I was just kind of curious about that. But anyways, back with my movies that I've seen. Dogman was actually hilarious. See Dogman. It's
Yeah?
It's
It
yeah,
looked
it's worth
very
it.
bad.
It was hilarious. If you don't like fun, Jake, then you're not gonna have fun
That-
with it. But you don't like fun, so you know, I don't know.
I said it looked bad. I didn't say it was gonna be bad. That's different.
Yeah, that's the one from the Captain Underpants
Yeah.
creator,
It's
right?
DreamWorks. If not for nothing, even if you don't jive with like the story or the jokes, you can appreciate the animation because they animated the hell out of that movie. It's really like impressive to watch. So very fun time, worth a shot. And then I also watched Love Hurts. That was that's the one with what's his name? Hold on, let me pull it up. Ke Hu Kwan, the guy who played Short Round
Yeah, him.
in Indiana Jones.
He's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude,
Oscar winner. Oscar
I
winner.
hope he gets so many more films because, dude, he did a great job. They beat the shit out of him in that movie, and the action is so good. Very brutal film. Go see it. It's worth it. And then I saw Captain America: Brave New World. I saw it in IMAX. A different IMAX that I hadn't seen before. It was a pretty good screen. It wasn't like the biggest IMAX screen, but it was funny because I was like, I didn't realize that there were scenes shot for IMAX in Brave New World. So I'm like watching it, and I'm like, yeah, it's whatever. And then suddenly the screen goes zoo. I'm like, oh, right, IMAX.
Yeah.
Have you?
I mean, it could be worse. It could be
Oh, fuck
Transformers 5.
Oh my god.
I don't know. It kind of did that too. I don't know, but Brave New World, I enjoyed. I mean, I gave it a 3-star. Was it the worst thing in the world? I'd rather watch it than like 90% of what's come out recently by Marvel. But I don't know. It just wasn't hitting the same. There was just some things that kind of was like, we're just kind of lollygagging.
So,
but,
I want to ask this question. What's your favorite movie of the year so far? I've seen 5 movies this year, not counting I'm Still Here, which is technically last year. So, what is your number one of the very limited selection we have?
Well, interestingly enough, Jake, is that I have already started on my top 10 of 2025, and there's one entry at the moment. It is Companion.
Yes, that's mine too. I love that movie.
I have not seen
So
it
good.
yet.
Do you know anything about Companion? Like anything about it, Bruce?
I know the premise. I know it's because they put it in like a plot synopsis and like a press release. So I know.
So you
how
already-
it-
Ah.
hate that, dude. It's
I got-
so good if you don't know about it.
I got so lucky. I got to see it in the Dolby or an IMAX. No, I think it was IMAX or Dolby. One of the two. So one, I got to see it like that for the first time. 2, I had only ever seen the teaser trailer where her hand is over the fire thing and like you don't
Me
know
too.
what's going on
Me
and
too.
stuff. I somehow managed to avoid all of the trailers, knew nothing. The only other thing I knew was that one poster where her eyes are white and like she has like creepy smile. And I was like, okay, well that could be anything. Had no idea. So I walk into this movie and then the twist comes in. I was like, what the fuck? And for that alone, I had to put it in my top 10 because it's just, I always appreciate when a movie 180s me. And it's funny too because as the movie was going on, I'm thinking back to like all the little notes here and then I'm like, oh, it was obvious, but like, I loved it. I love that fucking twist. It's so good.
The twist is great. And the trailer, I also am just like you. I just watched the trailer where her hand's on fire. But that was enough for me to be like, oh, well, she's clearly not like, something's off with her. And then when I start watching the movie and they lay those little seeds, I won't give them away what they are because Bruce hasn't seen them. But like when they start dropping those like certain lines of dialogue to reference what she is or could be, and it's like, oh, she's this because the trailer indicates that, so XYZ. And then like 20 minutes later they reveal it, and I'm like, yeah, I really wish the marketing just didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one where it's definitely been on my radar because the trailer was good, and I thought Sophie Thatcher was great in Heretic.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
she
God,
was
so
good
good.
in it, Heretic. I
Wow.
completely had forgotten
Totally
about
didn't
that.
put that together. They're the same person. Jesus.
Yeah, the all 3 leads in that movie were great. So I'm like, okay, she's on my radar, and she was in Maxine for like a minute.
Yeah, that's crazy. No, the Companion is like the unexpected dark horse of the year. I really didn't expect it to be number 1. Although it's only been a couple months, but like still, it's like
Yeah.
way too good for its own right.
Yeah, no, I loved.
Yeah,
Companion.
but so my number one is. Yeah, but so my number one is I haven't watched as many 2025 movies because it's like it was January. I wasn't super jazzed to go see a
Wolfman.
whole lot, and I got into.
Oh,
was,
okay.
No, it's not
Let's
my
calm
favorite.
down. Yeah, Jake, why
Uh,
is it number one for you? What the hell?
I've only seen I think 2025 releases. So Wolfman is by default my worst right now, but not by a whole lot. My favorite is, to bring it back to the video game discussion, it's George Romero's Resident Evil, a nice little documentary about when he was going to make the Resident Evil movie.
okay.
And it's a good little documentary. It's well put together. And there's one of the big problems with it is that I already know all about this stuff because I've read the script, I've researched it. So there's not a whole lot new in there I didn't know, but if it's for someone who doesn't know this stuff, it's not bad. But I do think it spends a little too much time at the beginning talking about Romero's filmography and talking about the games. So it's like a 110-minute documentary. You could get it down to like an hour 40, no problem.
Okay, interesting.
But it's a good little documentary. Once it comes to streaming, I think I'd recommend it.
To finish Companion real quick, was I sometimes question if I'm just stupid or I just like turn my brain off too much because I did not see the twist coming, and when I saw the trailer, I didn't really put two and two together. I thought the trailer, the teaser with how it was going with the hand over the fire. I was like, oh, we got some trippy Robert Eggers fucking random horror movie shit going on here. This sounds cool. So it kind of whipped me out of there. But yeah, yeah, Wolfman 2025, man. I mean, is that gonna be in your top 10, Jake?
I mean, I've only seen 5 films so far, so right now it's number 4 of all time of the year.
Oh, that's right. You list everything.
All 5 of the movies that I've seen this year, I like all of them. The weakest of them was Den of Thieves 2, and I thought that was a strong movie. But I've seen Companion, Cap 4, Presence, Wolfman, and Den of Thieves 2. And I like them all.
Okay.
We had to delay a screenplay archaeology recording because of Den of Thieves 2.
Yes. I was like, no, I got a ticket that day. I can't possibly.
I'm like, damn it, Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can't do it. Yeah.
I have never worked a Thursday, I think, in my life.
Last thing I'll say about Brave New World is that the marketing destroyed the pacing for the film by just marketing Red Hulk the whole time. I feel like they should have just saved it as a surprise, and it would have because the entire story, you watch it.
It's the companion problem of marketing of like you shouldn't have put that in the trailers, but if you don't put it in the trailers, then why are people seeing the movie? You know, so it's really tough.
Counterpoint, it's a Marvel movie, it's a Captain America movie. People are going to see it anyway. Word of mouth goes through.
Yeah, but
bam.
that used to be true, and then now Marvel movies are not like they vary in box office depending on if they're actually interesting or not. So like, you know, Marvel actually does have to start trying now.
But it's Captain America.
But it's not the Captain America people know and love. It's a different guy.
Yeah, it's got to make Falcon into the new Cap, and people were not hot on his miniseries.
I loved the miniseries. It was one of the better.
I enjoyed the miniseries. I think this is better than the miniseries, though.
I liked it, but I thought it kind of petered out by the end, and Falcon's speech at the end was just, dude, what are you doing? But Brave New World, I'm interested. I'll go see it. I see all the MCU stuff. But my Marvel hype is 10% of that's going to Thunderbolts because I think that looks
fun. So good.
90% is going to Fantastic. Yeah, but 90% of it is going to Fantastic Four First Steps because I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan, and I need this movie to be great.
So good.
I'm the outlier. I don't really care about Fantastic Four, but Thunderbolts, I'm down for Thunderbolts. That looks great.
I'm down for Thunderbolts, but I just love the Fantastic Four. I actually have never watched the 2015 movie. I've never been able to bring myself to do it. But I mean, you see Galactus, and he looks like Galactus. He's not a big cloud. You got the Thing, looks like the Thing. He's got the eyebrows.
Well, you know what? I'm still gonna see it because it does look good. So I mean, I'm hoping for something good. But
man, I am hoping we get. I'm just hoping we get great Superman beginning of July, great Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that Superman movie that looks. I'm not usually a Superman guy, but that the James Gunn one looks good.
New from Lego. Indiana Jones, the great adventure hero. Can he get out of the collapsing temple?
survive the secret traps and the giant boulder. It's in your hands to help Indiana Jones prepare the getaway and bring home the treasure. You control the adventure. With the new LEGO Indiana Jones collection.
Projects that we've been working on. For me, still going very strong on my current short film. Don't have too much to say besides scheduling is a pain in the ass, and I'm both grateful and curse Robert Edgers for releasing Nosferatu, because that has been my cornerstones of inspiration for how I light scenes right now. Downside to that is that we burn through candles like no other. I swear. we use so many candles in scenes now, and we use it for lighting and stuff to get like that candlelight shimmer and everything. But
I hope at least one of you has a fire extinguisher on set.
Yeah, sure. You know what? I'm gonna go to Walmart tonight and get one. But no, it's like every week it's like, hey, did we buy more candles? Yeah, we got more candles. So it's pretty funny. But that's all.
So we get an extinguisher. Now we just got more candles. Oh, that's fine. Bring them in.
Take candle.
Yeah. What about you, Jake? Any projects you wanna give a little details on or anything?
I can get into it a little bit because they're just up in the air right now. I don't know if and when a release date will happen, but I have a finished draft of a book, which is not a sequel to Devil's League. It's just an original book, and I kind of got inspired to do something else too. So I'm in this weird state of like, I want to revise the draft I have of this and expand out the many chapters I have written of something else and work that in as well. So I'm kind of juggling both, all the while trying to go through the query trenches right now of just sending out agents like, hey, please, hey, please, hey, please, hey, please, endlessly. Trying to get this fucking book to have like a real like deal instead of self-publishing again. Because self-publishing is good and bad depending on how you look at it. Like, you get full control, full creative control, full cover design control, full release date control, all that fun stuff. And probably you make more money per purchase of each book. But you're your own team. You have to market everything from the ground up. You have to go to conventions. You have to try and like sell it grassroots style. It's like a whole pain in the ass. I think I'd rather just, get a deal with a bigger publisher so that they can worry about like how to actually. I really just want to write. I just want to tell the story. Damn it, that's my focus there. I don't really care about like, oh, I have to, call 1,000 people and post in a bunch of different groups on Facebook. It's like I don't fucking care. I'd rather. I just want to write the stories, man.
Yeah.
Is that too much to ask?
I could be wrong, but I feel like the cover of the book is like probably like it'd be cool to have your own cover, but at the same time, like not having to worry about the cover. Like that seems like a small deal to not be in control of.
Yeah, it kind of depends. I mean, like, it's not just the cover. It's like every aspect of the book. If they want to change something, yeah, they'll work with you and they'll consider your opinion. But if you give them the rights to the book so they can market it as their own, they're going to make decisions, You can't really change it unless you pull out of the contract. So
Yeah, okay, that's true.
I'm imagining, like, some editor somewhere being like, okay, we liked the draft of Devil's League, but, the Paula character isn't all that relevant. We're just going to cut her. I'd be like, fucking, you cut her, I'll cut your legs off. Like, you
Damn.
I'd be pretty miffed if they try to do that kind of stuff. So.
Why did you call this character Vera West?
All I'm saying, Jake, is that there is a couple parts in that book that could be cut down for time. Just kidding.
Oh, Xander wants his legs cut off. I hear it. I hear it now.
Oh, I'm so sorry that we could cut down the Islands of Lost Soul chapter to get to the good stuff.
You
My
said
bad.
you loved it. You said you loved it.
That's one of the best chapters.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce.
It is. What about you, Bruce? You have any good projects going on or anything that you want to share?
Well, my first podcast, Screenplay Archaeology, is coming up on its 10th anniversary in April.
Wow, that's amazing.
And to build up for it, I've decided to get like big kind of important known kind of subjects for each month leading up to it, because it's a monthly show. And Jake and I did the first one, which is Ridley Scott's Dune, and it's a weird episode because we thought it was going to be a more interesting conversation than it was. Because I'm like, wow, this is an interesting script to read. Then we started talking about it, and it's like, there's not a lot of conversation
it's
here.
a really shittier version of Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 1. And it kind of ends in a similar place halfway through. So, it's just like, I've seen this movie look good, so I don't really care about this script at all.
Yes. And so I got one I'm going to try and get it out by the end of February, which I'm going to have to do this one by myself because no one wanted to do this one with me. And it's an early version of American Psycho that Bret Easton Ellis, the book author, wrote. And it was when David Cronenberg was attached to direct. And there's this whole story he tells I'm going to have to quote in the episode where Ellis was like, oh yeah, Cronenberg gave me these ridiculous notes and I just didn't follow any of them. And it's interesting because it makes some choices in adapting, and it just goes full Looney Tunes at the end, where it's like, even Ellis admits he was just taking the piss by that point because he was bored with the story. So it's gonna be fun to talk about. There's like some really funny stuff in there. March is supposed to be Crusade, the unmade Arnold Schwarzenegger, Paul Verhoeven historical epic. That's gonna be a fun one.
Cool.
And April, and I didn't pick this one for the anniversary specifically, but it's just how the scheduling shook out. Should be the Tommy Lee Jones version of Blood Meridian, the infamous Cormac McCarthy novel.
Okay.
All right, cool. What's it?
And I've got all my notes taken already, to free up my schedule and everything.
Hell yeah,
so.
that's
Nice.
awesome.
What's it like running that podcast for like 10 years? That's a lot. That's a really impressive amount of time, man.
Just doing the same thing every month for a couple of years. The worst part, though, is that there was an episode I recorded. Just to give you, this is one of the worst things that ever happened with this show. There was an episode I had recorded on a Devil May Cry adaptation, and the script was fucking awful. And I start listening back to the audio, and the other person I was doing it with, her audio got completely fucked up, and I had already deleted all my notes, and I'm like, we're not doing this again. I don't want to read this.
So funny. Oh man, I've never deleted my notes. I use Google Docs for like the past 5 to 10 years, and I never.
Yeah.
They're still all there.
Yeah, I still have my.
No, I take my notes on scripts in Word files, and I basically what I've started doing is I'll delete the notes and I'll retitle it for the next time. Just because I don't need it usually, but in that case,
Yeah, I just kind of have it organized in like the Notepad app.
While you're up, would you get me a soft drink?
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
You must choose. Choose wisely.
Discover real cola taste with just 1 calorie. Diet Coke.
You have chosen wisely.
At Indiana, discover the 1 calorie real cola taste worth leaving Pepsi for. Diet Coke.
Jake, we've teased this before a couple of times. Indiana Jones. I believe we're all fans of that franchise.
Sure.
So I'll leave it up to you, Jake. Do we want to rank the films first?
Yes, I think the smart option for us is to rank all 5 of them, and all 3 of us should do
Okay.
this at the start, and that will kind of
Yes.
set the table for like this is how we feel about the series. I'm gonna stay up front though, and I don't know if you guys feel the same. I like all 5.
Same.
I at the very least I would give one a 6 out of 10, and at the very best like 10 because some of them are amazing.
At the very least, I give them a 7 or like a 6.5, depending on my mood.
Okay, so Bruce is with me basically. Like they vary from good to great. I don't hate any of them.
I don't like Dial of Destiny. The rest of them I love.
Wow, that's crazy though. Like just to me.
Bruce, since you're the newest here, give us your ranking of the Indiana Jones films. Let's hear it.
I'm gonna start at the bottom. These bottom 2, for me, they can switch places because I think each does things very well, but then kind of trips on other things. Like I think, like I'm gonna give my bottom right in this moment. It is Dial of Destiny. I give it a 7 out of 10. I think the story. I like the story. I like some of the things it does with its characters. I like how it ends. I actually really like the ending. The main thing I feel like is that the action scenes are very hit or miss. Like some are really good and some are like they end like 2 minutes after they started and it's like, what is that? And like action is such a big part of what Indiana Jones is. But and the other thing that kind of bugged me is that I used to kind of watch some of the Young Indiana Jones show, and that would have wraparounds with like 90-year-old Indiana Jones with an eye patch, and so I was waiting for Harrison Ford to lose his eye at some point in this movie.
I
It
was
never
waiting for that
happens.
too. I was like, oh, you could tie it all in, but that's fine. That's later in his life, whatever.
Because Crystal Skull does tie
Yeah, a
it in.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I found it enjoyable. It could have been better. It's of like the latest run of like James Mangold movies. I would probably put it at the bottom, but the man made so many great movies in a row there, where I'm like, but I mean, I think it was a good movie though, and it's 6.5 to 7 out of 10 somewhere in there. My number 4 is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I always thought this movie was fun. It's more in kind of retrospect where where parts of it just feel kind of weak. Like it would have worked way better if Indiana Jones knew Mutt was his son from the beginning, so that they're not just like, so that like their banter felt a little more meaningful and stuff like that. And like it would have been better if Marion had showed up earlier because she's great when she's in it, but she doesn't show up till the 3rd act. I like all like the communist stuff. I think Kate Blanchett's plan of what to use the skull for is really interesting. Yeah, does it get a little too over the top silly at times? Sure, but it doesn't bother me on the level it does a lot of people where it's like, what do you mean he crawled in the fridge? And I'm like, he survives ridiculous shit in every movie.
Yep.
And I don't mind the aliens either. I thought they worked them in a clever way. My number 3 is Temple of Doom. I think this gets like a 9 for me. I think it's a lot of fun. Yeah, there's parts of it that haven't aged super well, but I think a lot of it just works. I actually am an outlier because I think Willie Scott is hilarious. And Short Round's great. I like the fact that it's so dark. It's funny when you read like reviews from the time complaining, oh, it's too scary. And I'm just like, man, people in the 80s were pussies.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, to be fair, that movie is the most intense out of all of them.
It is, yeah. And I love that it has like a horror movie vibe to it. I think that's really cool. Like there's little sprinklings of that in all of them, but this one definitely leans the most into that with all the occult stuff and like Indy getting kind of demon possessed for a while.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I just find it to be really fun, and the whole climax on the bridge is badass.
It is a fun climax, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yes, and so my number 2, which is either a 9 or a 10, depending on my mood, is going to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. This might be controversial, but I mean, it's just great. What more can I say about it?
I mean, it is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It all just fucking works. And my favorite is Last Crusade. It's the one I watched the most. We had the original VHS tapes of this. Like, it's really funny because the VHS tape of Raiders is like the meeting of the minds of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg on the back of it. So you can tell this came out pre-prequels. But no, but no, Last Crusade is the one I watched the most as a kid. It's still my favorite. It's got the best character stuff for Indiana Jones. I think the action's really good. I love Sean Connery. This was the Sean Connery I was introduced to first, was old Sean Connery. So seeing him as Bond when I first started watching those movies was a bit surreal.
Yeah, same for me. That was how I got introduced
But
to
I mean, but yeah, Connery, like his old man Connery, he had a crazy run of good movies in like the late '80s and into the '90s of just mostly really solid stuff, and Medicine Man. But you can forget about that movie.
You know, it's funny, and again, this is just to tack on what you were saying about Sean Connery. My first movie I remember watching him in when I was super young was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and I just remember thinking, like, people like this guy? This guy fucking sucks. He's, like, terrible. Why do you even like fucking Sean Connery? And then, like, as I grew up, I watched all of his great movies, all the Bonds, all the fucking India. I was like, oh, wow. I can't believe that was my introduction.
Yeah, the movie's so bad, he quit acting.
He did quit acting after it.
Oh my god. I feel like either my first introduction to Sean was either Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade or Hunt for the Red October, but I feel like it was probably Hunt for the Red October.
Yes.
Because my mom would watch that one.
That's another favorite.
He's just such a legend, like, you know, before 2003. He's, like, all over Hollywood, you know? You can take your pick.
He's in the best Michael Bay movie.
I feel like I should rank them next because Xander has the most wackadoo ranking conventionally amongst fans.
Oh, 100%.
Which is totally fine. I'm just saying, like, that should tail end the discussion. That can kick us off, if that's cool with you.
I mean, honestly, yeah, no, I was going to go last because, I mean, I'm the one who always sparks the discussion of what the fuck are you smoking?
Raiders at 5.
All right, cool. So I'll do what Kieran Head did. I'll start at the bottom. My least favorite, it switches every so often, but as of today, I feel like my least favorite is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Too much is wrong with this movie. Again, it's the worst of the best. I still give it a 6 out of 10. I think it's strong in a lot of parts. There are just some, like, unforgivably dumb or goofy or unwatchable scenes. And the fridge thing, people talk about the fridge thing all day long, like, oh, he shouldn't have survived that. Let's pretend that he can survive that. He just gets out of it. He's like less than a mile from a nuke. He has like super cancer. I don't care what you like. No part of that really tracked. No part of what happened in that whole sequence made any sense.
And that's why he's Red Hulk.
That's exactly why. It's a logical extension. I like the movie because it is at the end of the day, it's a fun adventure. It feels like an Indiana Jones story, you know, it plays through the classic tropes, you know, it's got him as a character just feels so authentic. I think his character through all of them, maybe except for Doom, but at least for the rest of them, he's such a strong, great character who's like really fun to watch. And I don't know, like something about this movie, like, yeah, it's really goofy. Yeah, it's kind of dumb. Yeah, I don't like Shia, but at the end of the day, I think it's Spielberg. He gives it that magic where it's like, yeah, okay. At the end of the runtime, when the credits are rolling, I'm sitting there like, yeah, I'm satisfied. That was a fun experience. A lot of problems, but again, Kieran Head, I don't mind the aliens. I think it's just as wackadoo as like, you know, Holy Grails and, you know, Crystal Skull, whatever the Ark, the Lost Ark. That shit was wild. You know, there's always like a crazy fucking element in these movies. So like the aliens is on par, and Crystal Skulls are like a historical thing. Like they're part of like ancient tribes and civilizations and stuff. That's where the movie drew its logic from. Not real logic, but like its mythology and stuff. And that was really interesting. So I think overall it's fine. It's the weakest of the 5 in my opinion, and it's the one I have the most to say about. Number 4, I put Temple of Doom. Some days I think Skull is better. Some days it's Doom. I think they're both like a 6 out of 10. Temple of Doom for me is unique. It kind of stands out from the series. It doesn't really fit with the other 4. Like almost not even in the same genre. At the end of the day, it does kind of belong there, but like it's just so removed. It's a weird detour. It feels like a tie-in video game almost to the Indiana Jones movies. Like, oh, this is like some random side thing you can play. You know, go to this civilization, beat the bad guy, get the gem, save the city. Like it's like an adventure. It's not the same context of an adventure of the other ones. But no, Doom at the end of the day is really fun. The action scenes are super fun. Cupid Head, the bridge scene, you're so right. It's like the craziest part. It's so fun. He's like doing the heart thing and hanging off the side of the cliff. I could watch that all day. But yeah, no, some parts are really dated. The effects I think are the worst maybe in the series, except for maybe Skull, but like, I don't know, it's not great in Doom either. Like if you if you watch those, it doesn't hold up on a big screen. And you can't even say, oh, it's of the time, because the one before and after this are both better and awesome in terms of effects. So I don't want to hear any excuses.
There's one effect I noticed even as a kid, which is when Mola Ram falls down into the crocodiles, they're just tearing clothes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, no, regardless, Doom is decent, but not near the best for me. Number 3, Dial of Destiny. I think it's a strong conclusion to the series. It's a way better conclusion than fucking Crystal Skull was. It ends his arc. It ends the storyline pretty well. Part of it, watching it, is like, wow, this is like 80-year-old Harrison Ford really fucking around, having a great adventure, cracking his whip, punching people in the face. It's like a fun, I don't know, it feels like a return to form for the series, and especially the first like 25 minutes, that's like ripped straight from that classic trilogy. Like that's him, And then the rest of the movie is like an extension of like, what would this guy be in his 80s? To think that like an 80-year-old man is leading a fucking action adventure blockbuster franchise is like, wow. But in terms of the movie itself, the Dial is super interesting. I love the lore, love the behind the scenes, not behind the mythology they went into with like the Archimedes Dial. I loved how he's clever enough to solve continental drift before anyone else. I don't like how it's right before they do it, which is super convenient. But the fact that he was the one to do it, that another like speaks to his character moment, And the villain might be my favorite villain in the series. Like, I want to kill Hitler because I think I can do it better than Hitler. What a motivation! Like, wow. I love Mads Mikkelsen's character. I love everything about I think it's maybe the strongest villain in all 5 of them. So yeah, I love Dial. I think it's really strong. Number 2 for me, number 2 and 1 are like both basically 10s. Number 2 is Last Crusade. Yes. I love Last Crusade so much. Him and his dad. His dad is such a great like companion for him in his adventures and stuff. It's finally someone who knows more than Indiana Jones about something. That's like such a great, interesting dynamic to do. I love how it's played for laughs that Indiana Jones is like, I'm going to save my dad and bring him the book. And he brings the book straight back to where, like, oops. Ooh, way to trigger the entire events of the movie. I thought that was really fun and interesting. And yeah, I just love the characters, and I love the solving the mystery and riddle sequences, like where the X is the 10 on the floor, like that whole part with there's a lot of scenes in this where it's just like, yes, I love the way we're problem solving. I love the way we're using creativity or action or mystery to get ourselves out of the situation and where we need to be. Love the cup scene at the end. And then of course number 1 is one of my favorite movies of all time, Raiders of the Lost Ark, baby. I think it's got one of the best opening scenes ever with the big ball. That's like the most iconic thing from the entire franchise. I think it's one of the best openings to a movie ever. I got nothing to say but compliments for Raiders. I think Raiders is a 10. Perfect film. If anyone doesn't have it as an amazing fucking movie that's like on one of their top 2 at least, I want to have words with you. So speaking of,
and actually, I'll say I think Belloc is one of the best villains.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, he's so good. It's so fun.
Because he's basically just Indiana Jones, but slightly down a different path.
All right, well, Xander, we've had conventional fan rankings of the franchise. I want to hear your crazy curveball take and why you feel that way.
Cool, yeah, no. Well, like everyone else, I'll start from the bottom. And we'll go to the top.
Raiders.
Right? Dial of Destiny is my bottom one. In fact, I don't like Dial of Destiny so much that I went out of my way to make sure that I got the last stock of the 4K Steelbook collection of the first 4 Indiana Jones films before I had to be forced to include Dial of Destiny in that. That's how much I don't like the movie. I hate the opening sequence. You want to talk worst visual effects? It's Dial of Destiny, where I have to look at stupid CGI deep faked Harrison Ford for like 30 minutes of the damn movie. It just looks so uncanny and so uncomfortable to watch. Nazis again. Okay, hello originality. We're just going back to what Raiders of the Lost Ark did. I am so sick of Nazis, I swear.
You hate these guys?
They work in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love them in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it's like I don't like Temple of Doom did something different, and then freaking Kingdom of the Crystal Skull did something different. But then we just go back to Nazis again. It's like there's other armies, there's other things we can. Why does it always have? Why do you have to go back to fucking Nazis? What? Because it worked in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay, cool. You talk about an 80s, a guy in his 80s leaving an action star. Poor Harrison Ford is practically carted around the entire fucking film. Doesn't get to do anything at all besides talk about I'm doing a couple things. Like he goes to work. His acting's phenomenal, but they just fucking cart around on it. And I go, the excuse is, well, he's 80. What do you want him to do? Don't play it. Don't make the movie then. If I can't see Indiana Jones fighting anyone, don't make the damn movie. He doesn't even get to fight the big heavy dude. Like, the fucking heavy dude gets stupidly fucking drowned. Like, where's my big fist fight? Every one of these Indiana Jones movies has that big fist fight. Even Last Crusade, and Last Crusade is my number 4. Even that follows the script right, where he has his big fist fight with a big heavy dude or something like that. It's like, what are we doing? And then fucking so much CGI, so little use of practical effects. I damn near cried when I had to watch Harrison Ford ride a horse in CGI New York. That was, oh my god. I mean, you're Disney. You're Disney Studios. You have all the money in the world, and you're telling me you cannot afford to shut down New York City for Indiana Jones. I mean, no, I don't care what budget you say. It's Indiana Jones. You could have afforded to do it. You're Disney. So yeah, moving on. Last Crusade's my number 4. And I gave Dial of Destiny 3.5. That was my other thing. Also, Steven Spielberg's not part of it, and you have Harrison Ford, but Indiana Jones is not just Harrison Ford. It's Harrison Ford and Steven Spielberg. Without Steven Spielberg,
Wait, I'm sorry
there's a
to
magic
interrupt. I don't
that's
mean
missing.
to.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I was just confused. You gave Dial of Destiny a 3.5. That's technically
Yeah.
a positive score, right?
Yeah, it's a positive score.
Oh, okay. So you like all 5.
I can still appreciate a film for what it is.
Oh, I thought you meant a 3. I thought you
No,
meant
he
a
does it out
3.5
of 5
10.
stars.
No, 3.5 out of
That's
5.
right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
so
mean,
you
I
don't
know,
hate
it's-
it. By definition, you can't
it's
hate
not-
it.
I'd rather watch it than Wolfman 2025 if that's what you're asking, but in terms of like,
Let's not go there. Let's
That
not
was
go
in
there.
terms
sorry, that's just my like my like at the moment default of like what
The
would I
go-to,
rather
yeah.
watch. But as a kid I used to do marathons of the trilogy of Indiana Jones. So if back then if I was to do another marathon of Indiana Jones, I'd still stop at Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because I don't want to sit through Dial of Destiny again. But yeah, I don't know. You just don't have Steven Spielberg, so you lose a lot of that magic that he just knows what to do. So, anyways, number 4, Last Crusade. Controversial opinion. I think this movie is overrated. I still give it a 5 stars, and when I rewatched all the movies for, which by the way, fuck you Disney Plus, your fucking 4K vision on it for the Indiana Jones movies looks like absolute trash. I hate it. But that's another rant for a different time. But yeah, I actually really came to appreciate this time for like the action and stuff. But I still find his dad annoying. As a kid, I was like, what the hell's this old guy doing in my freaking Indiana Jones? You're cramping my guy's style. Fucking Indy has this stupid tie on for like half the movie that just does not work with his whole outfit. Nazis again. I like first time I watched it, I'm like, okay, cool, Nazis. All right, cool. Random, horror-esque guys. I wonder what new villain we're fighting. Nope, we're just going back to Nazis again. Okay, that's cool. Boring. Not original. And then I used to find the Holy Grail scene to be kind of like mid, but now as an adult who like understands the context and everything, I'm like, okay, I get it now. I understand the heart of this film, but I don't know. I still find Senior Jones pretty fucking annoying. Sean Connery's great, but it's I was never for it. So yeah, those are my problems with Last Crusade. That said, I love the film. It's still a 5-star. I'd watch it any day of the week if you asked me to. Number 3, Indiana Jones: Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Completely underrated. This movie is amazing. Still made by Steven Spielberg. Harrison Ford is old enough where he's like he basically gets to do everything I would have wanted to see him do in Die Destiny. He still is fighting the big heavy bad guy. He's running around doing random action stunts. The opening of this movie is so fucking cool where it literally is like they get thrown out of the truck. You do that one spin with the camera. He picks up the hat, puts it on. Man, when that happened in theaters, it was like, he's back, baby! It's cool. It's fucking badass. You know, they're running through the storage things. Like, there's so many cool bits. And yeah, there's like CGI and stuff, but I still feel like in terms of like practicality, there's a lot more practicality in that movie than Destiny ever fucking did. And I thought the aliens were cool. I didn't mind the aliens at all. I thought it was unique that we had a whole Russian subplot, and like we're fighting Russians this time. Fridge scene is great, by the way. Fucking love the fridge scene, and it's funny because it cuts to him getting scrubbed down by like hazmat people. So that's funny. But I don't mind Mutt. I thought it was all right. I never had any problems with him. We get Marion. Indiana Jones gets married. It's a great way to finalize the series. With that said, number 2 is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That movie is so fun. I love Short Round. Everyone talks about the French scene. Nobody, but yet you're all able to accept that he jumped out of a freaking airplane with nothing but a life raft boat. Like that was so cool. Yeah, but it's so cool and fun, and like it's a fun time to me. I think it's really cool. Like I don't know, it scared me as a kid too, and I liked all the effects. I thought they were really interesting. And yeah.
I will say, do you know where the fridge scene comes from?
No, where does the fridge scene come from? I'm curious.
It was in the original first draft of Back to the Future. The time machine was a fridge, and they carted it out to a nuclear test site to charge it up at the end. And Lucas apparently read that and loved it.
So I will also say that both Spielberg and Lucas have said the fridge scene was like their own idea to like take the blame, which means that it was both of their ideas.
But yeah, I mean, not much to say about Temple of Doom beyond that. I feel it's a really strong movie. I feel like it's heavily overhated for no reason. I don't know why, but I guess it's just for me, like the biases were gone because my mom had got me this DVD 3-pack, so it was like, oh, Raiders is done. I throw in Temple of Doom, and bam, we're on to the next adventure. And then apparently it's technically a prequel film because it's apparently supposed to take place before Raiders of the Lost Ark and everything, which, okay, that makes sense.
Yes, a year before.
Bridge scene is still probably the best out of all the film's finales. I mean, you can't beat half shirtless Harrison Ford with a machete cutting down a freaking bridge. Like, that's so fucking cool. It's awesome. So yeah. And then number 1, to the surprise of no one, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, what can you say? It's fucking Raiders. I got to see this movie a couple years back on actual 35mm as an original print that was released back in the day, and that was a treat to watch. The opening, it's legendary. The freaking whole film, just perfection. It's great. So yeah, that's my rankings.
I think it's so funny because we're going to disagree on all the sequels to Raiders probably, but we just perfectly align with how brilliant and masterful Raiders is.
Honestly, I don't think that ranking was as wackadoo as Jake.
No, I'm fresh off of reading Xander's Star Wars ranking. That's wackadoo.
Oh yeah, I was
Indiana
gonna
Jones is
say,
actually, all things considered, not that crazy.
Well, there's only 5
either
movies.
That's true. There's not that much room to go crazy with.
There's
But
not much.
No, and I liked we all had. I liked that we had three
Yep.
different
Yeah,
rankings.
that's
I if you don't mind, I'll kick things off with the discourse here. I want to
Yeah,
talk a little
let's
bit
hear
about
it.
I guess the main thing we're gonna discuss is Crystal Skull versus Dial of Destiny in terms of which
Yeah.
one is better, which one disappoints more. You said a few
Exactly.
things that Crystal Skull has over Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
I'll just get into the biggest one. The CGI in Crystal Skull is, frankly, a bag of shit compared to Dial of Destiny. I thought, like, the ants crawling over that guy, everything with the
That was
fridge scene that
sick!
apparently you love for some reason. It was a cool
It's
idea, but it didn't
fun!
look real. It looked
It's
like
fun.
shit.
Who cares if it's real?
Well,
it was
Dial of
fun.
Destiny is the first 25 minutes is way more fun than a fucking bunch of ants.
No,
you kidding me? But
Oh,
you hated that
shut
in their
up.
effects.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm so sorry. Indiana Jones actually fights the guy around the. It's not a pile of ants.
Does he?
it's- Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
He throws a
There's
punch. That's
whole-ass
adorable.
Fist fight.
All right.
Oh my god.
Let's not
you did
pretend.
not.
Let's not pretend that Dial of Destiny doesn't have Indiana Jones doing some cool, badass
He
fucking
doesn't
shit.
have
It's
him.
not always
he doesn't
his
do
fist.
jack all. Who does? What does he
It's
do?
not
Name
just his
one
fists,
cool
it's
thing
his
he does.
brain. It's his skill. It's his mindset. It's him as a character. Finally,
I'm
being there. And
noticing
yeah,
that
he's in
you're
his
that
80s.
you're. I'm noticing that you're describing everything Indiana Jones does in Last Cruise in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. What does he do in Dial of Destiny? Exactly. What
He
what does he do?
solves the whole problem. And I will say this. So, okay. So, to lay some groundwork, before we continue on this debate, this is actually pretty fun. I will point out Temple of Doom is not the best Indiana Jones movie, but it is the only one where Indiana Jones' presence in the story really matters. Because in Raiders of the Lost Ark, let's pretend he's not there. The Nazis either don't find the Ark, or they do and they all explode, and there's no issue with the movie.
Okay.
The Holy Grail, same thing. They either don't find the Holy Grail, or they do and they all die, and they fall in the chasm or whatever, right?
He saves his dad.
Crystal Skull, they either don't find the aliens, or they do and they all get big brained and blow up. And then Dial of Destiny, they either don't go back, or they do go back and die in the Siege of Syracuse. Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones actively goes somewhere and does something, and actually saves the
yeah.
day.
Can I just say I hate the fact that this Big Bang Theory ass bullshit has become a major talking point about the
Big Bang
franchise.
Theory.
Yeah, it started with Big
That
Bang Theory.
show, like, yeah,
Really? Yeah.
yes, it started as fucking Sheldon.
That's just an opinion
was,
I've had. Wait a minute. Did Sheldon have my opinion fucking first?
No, it wasn't Sheldon. It was Penny, and they were showing Penny all the movies, and she watched it, and she was like, "Indiana Jones doesn't do anything," and then all the others was like, "No, what? Oh my god!" And they all freaked
Well,
out
in
and
Temple of
stuff.
Doom he does. That's like the one I was like, whoa, that's a unique fucking movie. But in any case, I brought that up specifically because I feel a little betrayed by Big Bang Theory. I brought that up specifically because what does he do in Skull? What does he do in Dial? Technically Jack in both, all right? Just by a literal plot standpoint. So you got to look at it from the point of view of like, well, what do you want to see him do? Well, he does all the fun action stuff in, I guess technically both, but it looks and feels better in Dial. Because Crystal Skull, the CGI, I don't know if it relied too much on it or if the CGI wasn't up to par at the time, especially with that movie, what it was doing.
I think they may have rushed it a little bit.
Like Shia LaBeouf swinging with the monkeys, ass compared to the fucking.
That's just a dumb scene that shouldn't be in the movie.
It's a dumb scene to shoot. It's a dumb scene from conception, and it played out dumbly on screen. Compare that to any of the action scenes in Dial, like when he's driving that little fucking Ford Fiat looking thing. Like that was fun. It was way more interesting.
I really liked that scene.
Yeah,
though.
that was
the
great.
tuk-tuk
That
chase.
was way better.
It was boring.
That's the best action scene in that movie.
Probably, yeah.
It actually is elongated.
Indiana Jones doesn't do anything.
I was in it for that horseback chase, and then it ended like a
Yeah,
minute.
that was pretty brief.
Exactly. And you know what? Monkey thing? Yeah, okay, fine. It's not the coolest thing, whatever. But you know what falls up there? A cool sword fight. Fucking Mutt has a sword fight with the Russian.
The sword fight was cool. I like that.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was practical. That wasn't CGI. You're telling me that's better than you'd rather watch Indiana Jones being carted around by other people every action scene? like, and then you know the big guy in the big Russian dude in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. First off, you get a cool fist fight in the first act of it, and then they there's that testing rocket that they fight in, and like, you know, fucking have to like go against. That was fucking cool. And then he fights him a couple more times, but then, you know, like the car chase goes into the ant thing, and they're fucking fist fighting around while there's a bunch of ants surrounding them, and then he gets freaking eaten up by ants, and that's fucking awesome and dark and shit. Versus Dial of Destiny, where fucking there's the heavy guy has the mustache, and then he goes into the water and drowns. What's so fun?
See, I actually kind of like the drowning thing because that was
dark
ice
as
cold.
fuck. That was crazy. Also, like, I feel like the fans, the people that didn't like Dial of Destiny are in a no-win situation because either Indiana Jones doesn't fist fight anyone and they're disappointed, or he fist fights people and wins, and then people go, "Well, he's in his 80s. He wouldn't have beaten this like 7-foot tall muscle man." Like, so I'd rather them play it like more realistic and say like, "Oh, hey, he can't fucking go toe to toe with this towering muscle monster of a man." I like it as is. And also, the entire 5-movie saga is a collection of scenes of Indy failing to success, all right? He smarts his way out of a lot of situations that he otherwise failed or died in, and he ends up achieving his goals, usually by happenstance. And like I said, 4 of the 5 movies have the big thing end up killing the bad guys, not Indiana himself. So I don't need to see a scene where Indiana Jones fist fights a bunch of henchmen, or at least one. I just want to see him do stuff.
I mean, technically, even in Temple of Doom, the Thing kills the bad guy at the end because the Shankara stones kill Mol Ram at the end and make him fall.
That is true. I just feel like Indy was a lot more active in the third act.
No, the big bad fight that he has in Temple of Doom is it's the guy who's the slave driver, and
When the rock
he gets killed by the rush courage, and he gets that, which is freaking brutal. Also, the drowning scene, I legitimately had forgotten how that guy died. Like, I had to ask my friend Michael. I was like, wait, did he even... What happened to that big guy? He's like, oh, he drowned, remember? I was like, oh, right. That was how inconsequential it was to
You forgot about... That's like the darkest scene in the movie when the kid escapes him.
Yeah, because I didn't give a fuck. I don't care about knockoff Short Round, okay? He's not fun. Oh, he's...
And let's not pretend like Short Round is the most interesting. All due respect to Ke Huy Quan, it's just a kid that goes, Dr. Jones, over and over again the whole fucking movie. Like, that's not this amazingly well-written fucking character.
What? He gets to do fun stuff.
What?
He's like...
Okay. Let's not forget that Indiana Jones was trying to get down with Willie in the
I
scene.
know, and they had to make it a fucking prequel, otherwise there's a whole Marion problem. But I'll tell you what, too, and again, we're talking about Skull and fucking Dial, but in Temple of Doom, it's a prequel, but there's a scene where the guy pulls out the sword, and Indy's like, done this before, I'll reach for my gun. Oh shit, this time my gun's not here. But that scene takes place before...
It's because making it a prequel was basically a last minute, completely just petty decision they made.
Exactly, so it didn't really fucking track that way.
You know what, fine. To play devil's advocate, with how casually he does it in Raiders of the Lost Ark, I would assume that you could play it off that Indy thought, oh, I'll just grab for my gun. And he was like, ah, shit, I don't have it. So in Raiders, he knew he had his gun, so he was like, yeah, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
Or he's probably shot dudes before, so...
Right, that's a way to play it off where it's like, yeah, he's done it a bunch of times. Yeah, I feel like his Dial of Destiny has a scene like that where he gets his whip and whips everybody and everybody's ducking like, I'm in charge, and then they all pull out. Every single person pulls out a gun. Hilarious. That to me is like, oh, that's a scene like that was in Raiders and Temple that we haven't really gotten in a long time. I don't remember a scene like that in Skull. So they finally did something like that.
Like that in Skull.
I like the scene in Skull where he swings and then misses and falls into the truck. That's kind of similar.
Yeah, and he gets up. He's like, "Oh, hey."
That's fun. That was back when they thought that was an old Indiana Jones.
Come on, you cannot tell me that the opening to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is not sick. Where like he gets thrown out of the car, picks up the hat, they're all surrounded by the Russians. He has to go figure out how to like find the crystal skull thing.
I
the
will
gun,
say that
ammunition stuff.
I really enjoy. Yeah, I really enjoy the opening to all 5. I think they all have strong openings.
I don't like the opening to Dust. Why are you defending deep faking, Jake? Why are you defending that CGI? It's awful CGI. It's so uncanny.
I'm defending a good movie, defending a good narrative decision. What do you want, real Harrison Ford in makeup? Is that what you don't want to advance with technology at all? You'd rather just have a shitload of makeup?
I have seen so much worse de-aging.
I would rather just not have a prequel or like a flashback. I'd rather just have Indiana Jones be Indiana Jones. But for some reason,
let's pretend you're in a position where you have to do. What are you going to do? You're going to recast him? You want to get Alden Henreich, whatever his name is?
Yeah. It's time to legacy Indiana Jones.
You can say, but I don't have any Joneses.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a route to go. They picked a different one. I think it looks fine. I think it looks fucking fine.
I have seen so much worse de-aging. I mean, I've seen Alien Romulus.
The Romulus was better.
I've seen Tron Legacy.
Tron Legacy was early on. That was Tron Legacy was way earlier than they had any right to try and do a full CG head.
You know what? Tron Legacy works because that was all because Tron. It's literally in a cybernetic world, like so you're kind of just expecting to see weird robotic stuff.
Not all of it.
Okay, well,
not the flashbacks. Not the flashbacks of Jeff Bridger in the kid's bed.
You like the Indiana Jones is once again just doing this. It's literally just the same thing where like he's not with Marion, so for some reason he's divorced from Marion, and at the very end she just pops up randomly and they're like, okay, well now they're back together and they kiss and nostalgia.
I wouldn't say she pops up randomly. I think she was well set up throughout the story of the movie. So Mud had a criticism when we watched the movie, which was that it just does Crystal Skull again, where they're divorced or they're apart and then they get back together and get married again. And I said I would agree with you if this movie was right after Crystal Skull, like if it was like a year or two later and they're already divorced. Like, what's the point of Crystal Skull? But so much time has passed between Skull and Dial that they've had their marriage, they've had their like decade-long life together, and then Mutt enlisted and died, which is a fantastic backstory. Way to write in a lack of a bad character as a huge compelling point for the character you do care about. Like the way they've had, like their life has played out. We just haven't seen that because Indiana Jones, it's implied, has way more adventures than just the 5 we've gotten on screen. So I really appreciate that. Like now, after all this time, based on that backstory, he's at a different place. And he starts Crystal Skull. He doesn't even care about Marion. He's like, oh, Marion, I barely remember her from like a million years ago. And then fucking at the start of Dial, he did love me. He was in marriage, super happy. Mutt dies, and now he's in this horrible place of disarray. And the ending where he goes to Syracuse and he's like, my life is so shit that I think I'm just going to die here. But then it actually brings him back, and you get to resolve that trauma, that storyline that's been brewing. I thought that was a strong ending to the series. Way better than Crystal Skull's ending. Mind you, Crystal Skull's ending of, hey, let's give the role to Shia. Throw him the hat. Haha, he's the next one. He takes the hat back as like a wink and nod, herp. Like, fuck you. I don't care about Shia taking over the franchise. I'm so glad that didn't happen, man. That would have been terrible.
Except he takes the hat back. But hey, he got the Medal of Honor from Obama when he saved the world from the
I saved the world twice, okay? Give me a job or whatever in part 3.
No, but I mean, I like both endings. I kind of wish she was in the movie. She showed up a little earlier in the movie.
Yeah, she just
because it feels like they didn't intend to have her there at all, and then they brought her.
She
in.
has Liv Tyler and Captain America 4 syndrome.
It's just how many movies are we gonna have where Harrison Ford is grumpy old man who has a horrible life now and is divorced and stuff like that? Because I don't get why we had to do that. It didn't seem.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be the Pirates 5 plot of Will Turner is a complete idiot and is still Davy Jones.
How many movies now are we going to get where the main guy is like an old guy and divorced and sad? In the Indiana Jones context, 1.
I hate how they wrap up the finale because it's like, oh, how are we going to get out of this? Let's just knock out Indiana Jones and bullshit our way and just pretend, oh yeah, she got out of there, but we'll never know how she got out. We don't get to see that.
They took the plane back through the portal.
The
They took-
plane was
that-
broken and destroyed.
I do think that was a weird choice.
The portal was open. She was saying like it's not gonna be open for much longer, but if we go right now in this little rinky-dink plane, we're good. I mean, I think of all things that was
I
pretty
do
well
think-
established, at least with like the story.
I do think the choice of having it just hard cut was awkward, but I actually do really like that whole finale on the beach. I think that's like they went super balls out insane.
Oh my
with
god,
that,
the
and I think
Siege of
that's fun.
Syracuse. You want to talk about use CGI for fun stuff like Red Ants or whatever. The Siege of Syracuse in IMAX. I felt like I was in fucking Syracuse, guy, with like their fucking
Really?
giant spear crashing into the plane and shit. Oh my god, that was amazing.
I mean, I
was
saw
a
it in
cinematic
IMAX
experience.
too, and it was cool, but it wasn't like anything impressive. It was just the standard CGI stuff. Like I didn't find it that interesting.
I thought it was. I haven't seen at least something similar to that. The closest thing I can think of is Gladiator 1, because I hadn't seen 2 but at that point. It didn't exist. So that was just amazing to see, like the classic fucking ships, like literally having an actual ship battle. If anything, criticism of Dial of Destiny, I wanted more ship battle. That was so fun.
Okay, yeah, but that's all CGI versus Kingdom of the Crystal
No, I-
Skulls ending, which they actually built that set with those, beautifully created crystal skeletons. Like that's all live, that's all real, and it looks amazing.
You say that's all live, but you're referring to an aspect of a scene in that film. A lot of that film is just CGI, and it shows. Like the
And a lot of that climax is once the building starts collapsing, it's just CGI.
Okay, well,
spaceship.
yeah, that's fair, but like again, that's what I'm trying to say is like the main like set piece part of that is like okay, well, it's that thing.
And I will say, Crystal Skull does have one of my favorite lines at the end, where John Hurt points at the dimension portal, and Indy just goes, "We don't want to go that way."
yeah, it's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah, I think in all five, I think Indy as a character is just on point. I don't think that any of the movies have let Indy down in terms of his wit, in terms of his smarts, and in terms of his skill. I think he's so consistent in all five, and he acts differently in Dial than he does in Crystal Skull because so much time which Crystal Skull to Raiders going back that far because so much time passed there too. So like you got decades in between these last couple movies where it's like, yeah, he would be significantly slower, significantly older. I'm glad they're not leaning away from that and kind of leaning in. That was really fun.
I just think that it shouldn't have been made because he doesn't get to do anything. He is really slow. He's just being carted around. Like
Well,
it's just I don't
Fans
think it should
said
have been
that
made. I think
and those exact words about Crystal Skull. They thought that shouldn't have been fucking made because it's just like, oh, old ass Indy doing nothing but CGI and it's bullshit. Give me the original trilogy, baby. You know? So I don't know. I think even you were saying like, oh, the collection, like I'm gonna buy the 4-part collection and not have part 5. That's exactly what fans did when Crystal Skull came out because they disowned that film. They still don't like it. So you're doing what people did to Skull to Dial. So I'm just
exactly.
that's what that is.
I'm not even interested in this debate.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I wonder. Like, I really feel like Skull and Dial are more akin to Indiana Jones than Temple. That's just me.
Really?
Then Temple.
What?
Yes. I think Temple is such an oddball of the 5. It doesn't
Temple
fit.
is so much better than either of them. What?
Temple.
Really?
Is, no, it's better than Skull by a little, but it's not. It doesn't feel like it's part of the series. It feels like it's part of a different series. It feels like a standalone movie.
I don't agree.
I mean, it's
at
got
all.
some
What?
classic Indiana Jones stuff, but like the
It's got all
fun
the classic
energy of,
Indiana
like,
Jones stuff.
Not really. I mean, like it doesn't. First of all, of the trilogy, it's the one that doesn't have Nazis as the villains. All right, I feel like that's like a big thing with at least the 3 that I like the most have Nazis as the villains. That's not correlation causation. That's like those are just the 3 I happen to like the best, and they're that feels more Indiana Jones than like this random civilization nobody cares about. These people that don't get introduced that well. Great, like it doesn't really feel like it's that same energy.
I don't think Nazis are like a staple part of Indiana Jones.
I
personally.
don't think
Me
they
neither.
need
it doesn't.
Nazis.
I'm just-
I don't think a story.
I'm fine with Nazis. I don't need them
I
every
feel
time.
like
Call me crazy.
Nazis was just kind of a crutch because it worked so well for Raiders. So it's like, okay, well, we'll just bring Nazis back, and it's like Nazis. You can just say like, oh, well, they're Nazis. So
They also got a lot of shit over the villains in Temple of Doom.
Yeah, it's slightly insensitive. I'm not even touching that. That's a whole other debate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
listen,
yeah, in any
I'm just
case,
enjoying the
really-
film for the film. I don't. Yeah, I'm not going to
Exactly.
defend anything.
And there was a time where Temple ranked as my worst. I now think Skull is the worst. I think Temple's like the fourth. Temple and Skull go back and forth for me. I think that's a controversial opinion against a lot of people. Where I regard, I'm not as hot on Temple as I am about 1 and 3.
Okay, but Jake,
But, yeah.
even you said with Crystal that Spielberg gives it that kind of magic and stuff. Like, even you admitted that Spielberg adds a magic to it, and I feel like Spielberg
think
would
the
have done a
magic
better
is-
Dial of Destiny.
That's not what I was. So, I agree with you.
I actually
think
disagree.
Really?
Spielberg
Okay.
gives more magic in Skull than in Temple, and I think Dial has that same magic that Temple. Temple has magic, right? I like Temple. I don't know why I'm becoming the Temple hater of the group here, but I'm just saying, like in terms of like the energy of like, do you want like an Indiana Jones adventure? I would sooner say Last Crusade, Dial of Destiny, than I would Temple of Doom, which is like a weird, dark prequel. It's not really a prequel, even though it's not a prequel, and it is a prequel, and it doesn't have to do with anything in the series. Nobody comes back from that movie. Like, none of that really. I feel like you just skip it flat out, and the 4 movies that remain tell a consistent Indiana Jones story.
Jake, if you skip it, then you miss an hour and a half of Indiana Jones doing cool Indiana Jones stuff.
Oh no, I only have 4 more movies of that.
Oh, come on. I'm just saying.
Now, I was gonna say I disagree on Spielberg directing Dial, because if you look at the direction he's kind of taken his career in, really even before Crystal Skull, he doesn't really he's a very different filmmaker now.
Okay.
I don't think it would quite have that same verve to it. Like the last big blockbustery thing he did was Ready Player One, which was fine.
And not for nothing, but like James Mangold is a very gifted director. I think for all the flaws Dial of Destiny has, the directing is not the part of the issues I have with it. He's amazing. James Mangold did Logan. He did Ford versus Ferrari. He's done this, and I just watched A Complete Unknown.
I really
super
like
good.
the Wolverine.
You know, I'm actually gonna jump off what you said, Bruce, about how Spielberg's a different director. I think that would have helped because this is, as Jake was saying, this is a different Indiana Jones. So I think he would have given a different, I think he would have given that trajectory what it needed to see. I don't know. I guess that's just me.
No, he'd just rather remake a Best Picture winner.
Yeah.
I like the Fablemans.
But,
That was great.
No, I was
Yeah,
referring to
West
West Side.
Oh, right.
Fablemans was
Spielberg-
okay.
Look, Spielberg is consistent, I think, in like his whole filmography, not just Indiana Jones. I think he's a strong. Obviously, he's like a legend. He's one of the greatest of all time, influential. I'm not even talking about that that era, but like in terms of like today, the past like couple decades or so, I think he's very rarely have I seen a bad Spielberg. He's usually at least good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'd agree.
How would he have done with Dial? I don't know. I think the reception to Crystal Skull kind of turned Spielberg off from coming back to the series, because until that point, people have only loved the Indiana Jones movies, and then the fans kind of disowned Skull. So I don't know if he'd want to do the 5th one, because he's... imagine his mindset of like, well, what if I fuck this one up too? What if people don't like that? I don't know. But
I would be very curious to see what that David Koepp script
sounds
was.
fun. Yeah, well, Indiana Jones is that kind of character. Like, yeah, actor aside, I know the actor's like a million, but like that aside, you can make an infinite number of stories about Indiana Jones. Like,
Yeah, exactly. That's
like,
why I think they should make him a legacy character, I know Harrison was like, no one gets to play him but me, but I think they need to James Bond him.
I think I agree. I don't know how you do it now, because you've already done Skull and Destiny, where you've made him old and older. So like you'd have to kind of reboot it, quote quote, or just tell other stories in that era with like a different
Yeah,
age,
exactly.
like in his 30s, 20s.
I am okay with leaving the movies as they are, but I hear the new video game is really good, so maybe continue doing
Yeah.
that.
It still uses
That'd be
like
cool.
Harrison Ford's likeness. It's still part of that series. So
But I will say I will kind of contradict my Spielberg argument a little bit, because his very next movie after Crystal Skull was Tintin, which was an amazing adventure movie, even if it was animated.
yeah, no, Spielberg's got the sauce. He knows what he's doing.
After you watch Fablemans, if you watch any of Spielberg's older films, you suddenly see them in a whole different context and light. Like you watch Last Crusade with Fablemans in mind, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. He was kind of he was going through the trenches with these characters.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of been a known thing for a while now, that he was working through his daddy issues in his movies.
That's
Yep.
fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I don't know. I love the Indiana Jones series as a whole. I love the fact that you can take this same character and throw him into. All you need is some type of ancient mythological supernatural situation or whatever have you, where there's a little bit of unexplained what happened in history going on. You know, like, oh, is this artifact real? Is this civilization actually worshiping
Yeah.
aliens, whatever it is? And you can just take this one little aspect and make a whole adventure story around just that. And I don't know. I
no,
love
I
the
agree.
idea of like you can make infinitely more of these. I kind of wish they would.
I was just gonna say I completely agree with you, Jake. For me, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you just need the hat, the whip, and the satchel. My man can do anything.
Yes.
It's hard. It's funny that even now as an adult, I rank them, but as a kid, I just liked watching Indiana Jones. Like I said, I'd watch all three movies back to back because I just liked watching Indiana Jones do things. So, for me, it was always hard to say, oh, what is my favorite? Because it was like, well, I just like seeing him go and do things. So it was always hard for me to rank. So yeah, I want tons more Indiana Jones films. I mean, I love Harrison Ford. Like, yeah, he made the character, but I feel there's so much more potential you can do with him, that he needs to become a James Bond, Doctor Who type character that just, he gets legacied, you know, mantle, you know.
Well, you got 2 whole seasons of young Indiana Jones.
And what you
can
even could have
watch.
done too is like after Last Crusade, just keep making more every like 4 or 5 years. Just make a new one, and then Harrison Ford, you don't have to replace him at all. Just keep. He stayed to the role until
Yeah.
2023. Like, then you'd have like
I mean, they originally tried to make a 4 in the
and
mid-90s.
then there'd be like over a dozen Indiana Jones movies that we could talk about, like as like a series with all the main guy in it, and they eventually build up to an ending. That sounds fun as hell. Why didn't they do that?
That sounds really fun.
But I don't know how how any of you guys would like the whole concept of Indiana Jones and the Saucermen from Mars, where it's an alien invasion.
Yeah, that
movie.
does sound pretty out there, even for
Hey.
that series.
You know what? I'd pay to watch Harrison Ford whip some aliens.
Why not? Fuck it. You just became Red Hulk. Keep going, make more.
And that one got killed because Independence Day happened, and Spielberg's like, I can't top that alien invasion.
That's pretty funny that was the mindset.
That's fair. Independence Day was pretty strong, yeah.
At a certain point, we stopped debating and we're just talking about how much we like the series.
Yeah, that's true.
I just didn't have much investment in the debate because those two are both at my bottom, and I like them, but I don't like them so much that I'm going to argue over it.
That's
But you know what? I think the takeaway here is that it all devolved into, man, I just love Indiana Jones.
It is a reliable series.
It really is.
It's not like, say, Star Wars or Bond, where you have some great ones, some shit ones, and a lot of mid. You got, like, if you put a random Indiana Jones movie on, it's a good time. No matter which one it is, you're like, oh, cool, it's this one. I like this parts about this one. Let's watch it with the family. Done. It's like a great, you got that. You got that experience with
You
all
know what?
five, in my opinion. So
I did put on Dial of Destiny once while I was doing my laundry and cleaning my room, so, you know, I'll give you that.
I'll take the laundry movie. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I mean, really, all 4 of them could work as laundry movies because there's not a lot of plot you have to
Right.
pick up.
Well, I mean, they're great laundry movies if you've seen them already, right?
Yeah.
yes.
I
But, yeah.
haven't honestly rewatched those movies since Dial of Destiny. I used to rewatch them all the time, which is crazy to me.
It's been a bit.
I gotta watch all 5 again. I was so excited for Great Circle, and then I watched the trailer, and it's in POV, and I can't get into first-person games. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, I hate first person. Oh, it hurts.
I hate it.
I like both. It belongs in a museum.
Yeah.
I love that the joke "It belongs in a museum, so are you," or "So do you," is in part 3, not 4 or 5, where he's a million, just in Last Crusade.
Does he even get to say it belongs in a museum in the 5th one?
In the new ones,
He only says it in
no,
He only ever
Crusade.
says it in
Other ones?
Crusade, doesn't he?
I could have sworn he said it in more than just that movie. I'm gonna look it up right now. Well,
No,
now
it's
I'm
just that
curious. Now
movie.
you got me thinking.
He does repeat some lines in Crystal Skull because he talks about, because in Last Crusade he talks about how like most of the work is done in the library, and then he says the opposite in Crystal Skull during the
So
motorcycle
he says
chase.
it belongs in a museum. He says it twice in Last Crusade.
love that line,
And
by
then
the way.
the other time is where they say "So do you," and then they says it in Dial of Destiny when talking to, what the hell, Baz is his name. And I'm looking it up again. Oh, he said. Wait, he says it more than once. He says it 3 times in Last Crusade. He says River Phoenix said it once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And then Dial of Destiny.
So he says it in Last Crusade.
I forgot about that part.
So only in Dial and Last Crusade?
Yeah, oddly enough.
Oh, wow.
So he says it in your number
That's
4.
crazy to me that that's like one of the most iconic quotes of the series. I guess because Last Crusade repeated it, it made it like one of those like, oh, now it's part
Yeah.
of my memory or whatever.
Well,
Yeah,
forgive
that's
me if I'm
interesting.
wrong, but the general opinion is that Last Crusade is the greatest Indiana Jones movie, right? And then it's Raiders.
Yes, so that's the other favorite. A lot of fans debate whether or not Raiders or Crusade is their number 1. Like that's the only real discussion amongst the entire Indiana Jones community. I'm also of that mindset. I think they're both basically perfect. Some people go Crusade over Raiders, but no, not a lot of people have Skull that high. So you are an outlier.
Or Temple of Doom that high, because I prefer Temple to Last Crusade.
Yeah, Temple of Doom is always the middle child.
I mean, this is such a short ranking. It's
I know.
pointless
Well,
to
it's so
argue
easy to
over.
recall. I'd have to write that down. If you're asking me to rank like
Yeah.
Star Wars, I gotta go get my list. That's like a whole thing.
Right? I gotta pull up.
I'd have to rewatch some
Yeah,
of
there's
those movies.
like 12 movies. Are we including the shows? There's so many shows. So like,
True.
no,
it's not worth it.
no, I
Whereas
wouldn't do
Indiana
that.
Jones is only the
But-
5. It's a quick 5 movies.
But yeah, if you're asking me what do I prefer, Raiders or Last Crusade, it's gonna be Raiders. I love Raiders. Can't beat that opening, man. Can't beat that.
Well, our next episode is going to be about another guy who did movie series all the way up until he's mad old. It's going to be Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible, all 6 or 7 of those.
all 6 or 7.
7. Soon to be 8.
That movie looks good.
Soon to be 8. Yeah.
Soon to be 8.
Yep.
I hope
He
it
said
is
he was.
good.
The reason I bring it up is because he said he was inspired by Dial of Destiny, saying, "I also want to do movies when I'm that old. So now I'm going to keep doing movies if they'll let me." And considering how Part 7 got Barbenheimered, it probably will never happen. But we'll find out.
That's a series where almost all of them are good,
Except
for
2.
number 2.
Fuck 2. Everything else is great.
I agree. I can agree with
Oh,
that.
man.
All right. Well, that's our show, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, Bruce and Jake, and thank you for listening.
As
I hope
always.
it was fun.
You're welcome.
But yeah, if you guys have any closing things you want to say or tag anything, go ahead. Now's your chance.
Bruce, you tag your stuff first. You got some important stuff going on.
Yeah.
I've got my like I said, I got a couple more screenplay archaeology episodes coming up. Listen to that. And play Silent Hill 2 remake.
This is an official sponsorship, Silent Hill 2.
I would so take that money because I actually do love that game.
And Nosferatu has released physical, so go watch that. Pick it up.
Oh, there's an extended cut.
My plugs, go check out Hot Quality Content, the YouTube channel, and check out The Devil's League. It's a book that everyone's heard of and everyone knows about who's part of the show. But if you're listening for the first time, it is a book about monsters. Every single type of monster known to man is in this book, even ones not known to man. The cover can flip around and do some fun stuff depending on your angle. And it took me a year and a half, and it's a big passion project of mine. And it finally got published, and I could not be more proud. I'll be in Atlanta in March for Mad Monster Party Atlanta. Charlie Cox is going. Ron Perlman is going. Your boy Jake Camara is going. I'm equally as important as two of the fucking
Ron
dope
Perlman.
actors. So hell yeah, let's fucking go.
You gotta get him to sign Scorpion 3.
God Almighty, no. Like, dude, I loved your work in this shit movie. But yeah.
Yeah. Bring a copy of Dracula Untold to Charlie Cox.
Oh God.
Sign this movie.
Yeah,
We
I'll
cut
have
you
Ron
out.
Perlman sign this book, who he's not a part of and does not change his value. In fact, I think the value would probably go down. But I'd tarnish his signature with my work. But no, that's not how it works. I'm really excited to go. So happy that I'm finally because I've done a lot of events here in like the New England area and like, you know, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, that kind of situation. Now I'm going all the way to Georgia at the biggest convention I've been to yet as a vendor. So I don't know what to expect. It's going to be a crazy time. I don't know how I'm going to bring all my marketing down there. It's going to be a lot of shipping if I don't do it all there. But we'll figure that all
I
out.
think you can do it. You got it. But yeah, if you want more Monsters content, go ahead and check out Anxiety's Moon or Unseen Obsession for a good werewolf or invisible man short film. But with that said, everyone have a great night.
Bye.
Farewell.
Goodbye.
Where's your sense of adventure?